The thunder cracked like a whip across the endless Texas sky, but it was the gunshot that stopped Jake Harlan's heart cold. He spurred his horse, Midnight, toward the ridge, dust devils swirling in his wake like vengeful ghosts, his pulse hammering a frantic rhythm against his ribs as he prayed it wasn't Eli sprawled in that crimson dirt, bleeding out the secrets they'd buried deeper than any grave. Because if it was, the fragile world they'd stitched together under the ranch's unforgiving sun, the stolen glances, the midnight confessions, the love that dared not speak its name in a town that still whispered freak behind closed doors, would shatter like cheap glass under a careless boot heel, leaving nothing but shards to cut them both to the bone. Jake's boots hit the ground before Midnight even skidded to a halt, the acrid bite of gunpowder stinging his nostrils like a fresh betrayal. The air hung heavy, charged with the metallic tang of blood and the faint, fading echo of that single shot. There, slumped against a jagged boulder half hidden by mesquite scrub, was Eli Navarro. Is Eli, the man whose laugh could coax wildflowers from cracked earth, whose touch in the dark barn loft felt like the only safe harbor in a storm-tossed life. Eli's Stetson lay tipped over his eyes, but Jake knew that shadow well. It hid the storm clouds that gathered whenever the weight of their hidden world pressed too hard. Eli. Jake's voice cracked like dry leather as he dropped to his knees, hands trembling as they hovered over Eli's chest. No blood soaked the faded denim shirt. Thank God. No entry wound blooming like a deadly rose. But Eli's revolver lay loose in his limp fingers, barrel still warm, pointed skyward as if he'd fired a desperate signal flare to whatever gods might listen to outcasts like them. Jake's fingers closed around the gun, prying it free, his mind racing through a litany of horrors: suicide, accident, or worse, someone else's hand pulling that trigger in judgment. Eli stirred then, a low groan escaping his lips like gravel under tires, and Jake's world tilted back on its axis. Those hazel eyes fluttered open, hazy with pain and something sharper, more jagged: regret, maybe, or the ghost of a fear they'd both danced around for years. Jake, didn't mean for you to see, Eli rasped, his voice a threadbare whisper against the wind's howl. He tried to sit up, wincing as his shoulder protested, the fabric torn where the bullet had grazed flesh but spared bone. See what? You idiot, you scared the hell out of me. Jake's relief surged hot and fierce, morphing into anger as he helped Eli lean against the rock, his calloused palms gentle despite the fury boiling in his veins. He shrugged off his jacket, pressing it to the shallow wound to staunch the trickle of blood. What the devil were you thinking, firing off like that? Thought you were done with the bottle and the barrel, Eli. Thought we were past this. Eli's gaze slid away, fixing on the horizon where thunderheads bruised the sky purple, but not before Jake caught the flicker of shame. They'd met 5 years back, two drifters washing up on the Double H Ranch like tumbleweeds caught in the same barbed wire fence. Jake, the golden boy from Austin who'd fled a family that saw his deviancy as a stain to scrub out with church prayers and disownment papers. Eli, the quiet vaquero from the borderlands, carrying scars from a father who wielded belts like opinions and a town that branded him Maricon before he could even understand the word. Together, they'd forged something unbreakable in the isolation of endless pastures, fence mending by day, whispered promises by the flicker of lantern light. But secrets have a way of festering, and Eli's had started to poison him from the inside. It ain't the bottle this time, Eli muttered, his free hand fumbling for Jake's, fingers intertwining like roots seeking soil. It's Ma. Letter came yesterday. She's dying, Jake. Cancer, the kind that eats you slow. Wants me home one last time, to make peace. His voice broke on the last word, and Jake felt it echo in his own chest, a hollow ache that mirrored the vastness of the plains. Home. That word was a loaded six-shooter for Eli, San Antonio streets where he'd learned to hide his heart behind a cowboy's stoic mask, where his mother's rosary beads clacked like accusations. Jake squeezed his hand tighter, the warmth of it grounding him against the chill creeping in. Then we go? Whatever it takes. You ain't fastened that alone. Eli's laugh was bitter, laced with dust. We? You know what that town thinks of us, of me. Last time I was there, they ran me out with pitchforks and prayers. And you? Hell, Jake, you're the one thing I'd never drag through that mud. His eyes met Jake's then, raw and pleading, the kind of look that stripped away the bravado and left only the boy who'd once dreamed of riding free under stars that didn't judge. Jake's throat tightened, memories flooding in like a flash flood. Their first kiss in the hayloft, tentative and tasting of rain-soaked earth. The night Eli confessed his fear of forever, and Jake swore he'd build it anyway, brick by hidden brick. But love in their world was a tightrope over a canyon. One slip, and the fall could kill. You're my home, Eli. Wherever you go, that's where I plant my flag. We face it together, or not at all. As the storm broke overhead, rain lashing down in silver sheets that turned the ridge to slick mud, Jake pulled Eli close, shielding him from the deluge. The wound would need stitching, the letter a reckoning. But in that moment, with thunder rumbling like distant applause, Jake felt the first stirrings of resolve. Little did he know, the road to San Antonio would unearth ghosts neither had buried deep enough. Old flames, buried grudges, and a prejudice that festered like an open sore. And at its end, a choice that could either bind them eternal or tear them asunder like the lightning splitting the sky. The drive to San Antonio was a 3-day haul through parched badlands that mirrored the tension coiling in Jake's gut. They took Jake's battered Ford pickup, Eli propped against the passenger door with his arm in a makeshift sling fashioned from an old bandana. The radio crackled with static-laced country tunes, Willie Nelson crooning about lost highways and mended fences, but neither man sang along. Eli stared out at the blurring mesquite, his silence a heavier load than the spare tire rattling in the bed. By the second night, camped off a forgotten dirt road under a canopy of stars sharp as branding irons, the words finally spilled. Jake poked at the campfire with a stick, sparks dancing like fireflies fleeing the dark. Talk to me, Eli. What's eaten you worse than the fever you had last winter? Eli shifted, wincing as the motion tugged at his graze. The firelight carved shadows across his face, highlighting the fine lines etched by years of squinting into suns that offered no mercy. It's not just Ma. It's everything. Going back feels like digging up a grave I thought I'd filled. Pa's gone 6 years now, but his voice still echoes in my head. You'll burn in hell, boy, for lovin' wrong. And the town? They got long memories and short fuses. Remember Rico? My old partner. The one they said jumped from the bridge 'cause he couldn't take the whispers no more. Jake's stick snapped in his fist, the crack echoing Eli's pain. Rico, Eli had mentioned him once, in a whiskey-fueled murmur, as the friend who'd shared his first fumbling affections under the Alamo's shadow. Found floating in the river, official word suicide, but Eli's eyes had always held the unspoken truth, pushed by hands that gripped pitchforks and Bibles alike. That wasn't on you, Jake said firmly, reaching across the flames to grip Eli's knee. And it ain't gonna be on us. We're stronger than that poison. Eli's gaze softened, but doubt lingered like smoke. Stronger? Or just stubborn? You've never seen it up close, Jake. The way they look at you, like you're a coyote slinking into the henhouse. Ma, she tried, God love her, raised me with stories of saints who forgave the sinners. But even she flinched when I told her about us. Back when we started writing letters instead of prayers. The confession hung between them, heavier than the dew settling on the sagebrush. Jake had known fragments. Eli's weekly calls home, the way his voice would tighten around mentions of Maria Navarro's fading health. But the flinch? That was a knife twist he hadn't braced for. She knows? About me? Eli nodded, poking at the embers himself now. Bits and pieces. Enough to pray extra novenas, I reckon. Wants to meet you, though? Says it's time to bless what God joined, even if the devil's in the details. A ghost of a smile tugged at his lips, but it faded quick as a mirage. What if she sees the devil when she looks at us? Jake stood then, crossing the fire in 2 strides to pull Eli into his arms, careful of the sling. The embrace was fierce, born of a love forged in solitude, tempered by storms they'd weathered side by side. Then we show her the saints, the ones who rode through hellfire for a scrap of grace. Their lips met in the fire's glow, a kiss that tasted of salt and smoke, a vow renewed against the encroaching night. Dawn broke with a vengeance, painting the sky blood orange as they rolled into the outskirts of San Antonio. The city sprawled like a half-remembered dream, Adobe missions rubbing shoulders with neon-lit Ticarius. The river walks lazy curve a vein pulsing with tourists oblivious to the undercurrents of old wounds. Eli directed them to a weathered bungalow on the edge of the barrio. Its stucco walls cracked like parched lips, bougainvillea climbing the fence in defiant bursts of pink. Maria Navarro waited on the sagging porch, frail as a willow in her embroidered shawl, but her eyes, dark and piercing, held the steel of a woman who'd outlasted husbands, hardships, and hurricanes. She rose as the truck rumbled to a stop, her gaze locking on Eli first, then sliding to Jake with the precision of a hawk spotting prey. "Mijo," she breathed, arms opening as Eli limped up the steps. The hug was bone deep, a mother's reclamation of her prodigal, and Jake hung back, hat in hand, feeling like an intruder in a sacred rite. When she finally turned to him, her smile was tentative, lines deepening around eyes that had cried rivers. "You must be the one who mended my boy's wild heart. Jake, see? Come, let me see the face that keeps him from the shadows." Her words disarmed him, pulling him forward into a hug that smelled of lavender and liniment. But as they settled inside the dim living room, saints' icons gazing down from every wall, the air thickened with unspoken questions. Maria poured coffee strong as regret, her hands steady despite the chemo's toll. "Eli tells me you run cattle up north, far from these dusty streets. A good life?" Jake nodded, cradling the chipped mug. "The double H. It's honest work, fences to mend, sunrises that make you believe in second chances." He glanced at Eli, who sat rigid, nursing his own cup like a shield. Maria's laugh was a dry rustle. "Second chances. That's what I pray for now. For him, for you. For whatever God spun between two souls like thread on a loom." Her eyes sharpened then, pinning Eli. "But secrets, Mijo, they tangle the weave. Your father, he never understood. Called it a curse. But I see clearer now. Love's no curse if it brings light." Eli's shoulders sagged, the sling a stark reminder of his unraveling. "Ma, it's not that simple. The town's full of folks who still see it as sin. And with you, I didn't want a burden." A knock shattered the moment, sharp as Eli's earlier gunshot. Maria frowned, rising slowly. "That'll be Father Ruiz. He insisted on a visit, to administer comforts." Her tone dripped irony, and Jake's stomach knotted as the door swung open to reveal a priest in crisp black, his face a mask of pious concern that curdled into something colder upon sighting the two men side by side. "Father," Maria greeted warmly, but the cleric's eyes narrowed, flicking from Eli's sling to Jake's unfamiliar face. "Maria, you didn't mention company." His voice was honey over gravel, and Jake felt the chill of judgment settle like frost. Eli stood, jaw set. "This is Jake, father. My partner. In every way that matters." The word hung, a gauntlet thrown. Ruiz's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Partner? How? Modern. But Maria, in your hour, we must think of salvation. Associations like these, they complicate the path to grace." Jake's blood heated, fists clenching under the table, but Maria's hand on his arm stayed him. "Grace is for all, father. Even cowboys who love true." Her voice was steel-wrapped in silk, but the seed of discord was planted, and as Ruiz droned on with veiled warnings, Jake glimpsed the storm brewing, not just in Eli's haunted eyes, but in the shadows of a town that never truly let go. As the days blurred into a haze of hospital vigils and hushed rosaries, the bungalow became a pressure cooker of buried tensions. Maria's strength waxed and waned like the moon over the river, her laughter a rare gift amid the beeps of monitors and the sterile sting of antiseptic. Jake played the dutiful shadow, fetching tamales from the corner market, fixing the porch step that creaked like Eli's doubts. But he felt the eyes on them, neighbors peering through lace curtains, whispers slithering like sidewinders across fences. It was on the fourth evening, as cicadas chorused their dirge from the jacaranda trees, that the first crack appeared. Eli had slipped out after dinner, claiming a need for air, but Jake knew better. The weight of Ruiz's sermon had sunk hooks into him. He found Eli at the old mission's edge, perched on a low wall where crumbling stone met the San Antonio River's murmur, a half-smoked cigarette dangling from fingers that trembled. "Can't run from it here, you know," Jake said softly, settling beside him, their shoulders brushing in that familiar anchor. The water below swirled lazy eddies, reflecting the twilight in fractured golds. Eli exhaled smoke like a sigh. Ain't running. Just rememberin'. This is where Rico and I used to come, skip stones and dream of getting out. He was the brave one. Kissed me first, right under that bell tower. Said love was a revolution. His voice cracked, eyes distant. Then the town found out. Notes in his locker, tires slashed, his ma crying to the priest about demons. Last I saw him, he looked at me like I was the devil's own temptation. Jumped that night. Note said he couldn't fight the fire in him no more. Jake's heart clenched, the story's raw edges slicing fresh. He'd pieced together echoes before, but hearing it whole was a gut punch. You blame yourself. Every damn day. Eli crushed the cigarette under his boot, sparks dying like hopes. And now, with Ma slipping away, I wonder if I'm cursing you too. Dragging you into this snake pit, where one wrong look gets you tarred and run out. Jake turned Eli's face to his, thumbs brushing away the damp tracks on his cheeks. You ain't a curse, Eli Navarro. You're the damn miracle. The one that made me believe in more than riding fence and eating dust. Rico, he was fighting alone. We're not. We got each other, and that's a full arsenal against whatever they throw. But words, even true ones, couldn't douse the embers of fear. That night, as Jake lay awake on the lumpy couch, listening to Eli's restless pacing in the next room, a shadow moved outside the window, a flicker of movement that set his nerves jangling. He bolted up, peering through the gauzy curtain, but the street lay empty, lit only by the sodium glow of a distant lamp. Paranoia, he told himself, born of too many ghost stories. Yet sleep evaded him, the river's whisper mocking with tales of drownings and unspoken sins. Morning brought a fragile truce, Maria insisting on a family outing to the mercado despite her fatigue. The market buzzed with life, vendors hawking spices that perfumed the air like memories, children darting through legs like minnows, accordions wheezing rancheras that tugged at Eli's reluctant smile. Jake carried the basket, laden with papayas and fresh tortillas, while Eli supported his mother, their laughter a brief rebellion against the inevitable. But harmony fractured at the tamale stand, where a knot of old acquaintances from Eli's youth clustered like vultures scenting weakness. Leading them was Tomas, broad as a bull and twice as mean, his face a roadmap of bar fights and bad decisions. Navarro, back from the wilds, heard you shacked up with some gringo wrangler. That true, or just more queer tales? The slur landed like a lassoed punch, yanking Eli straight. Maria gasped, clutching his arm, but Jake stepped forward, voice low and steady as a drawn colt. True enough. And if you've got a problem with that, Tomas, you can jaw it with me instead of slinging mud at a dying woman's son. Tomas's laugh was a bark, eyes gleaming with booze-fueled malice. Feisty, ain't ya? Boy, we don't cotton to your kind round here. Eli knows. Ask his old beau Rico how that ended. The crowd murmured, a tide of nods and smirks, and Eli went white as chapel linen, the name a specter invoked to haunt. Enough! Maria's voice cut through, sharp as a switchblade. She straightened, shawl slipping to reveal the hollows of her cheeks. You speak of my boy's heart like it's your trash to toss. Rico was a lamb among wolves, and you, her gaze swept them, unflinching. You bayed loudest. Leave us, or answer to God sooner than you planned. The group shifted, discomfort rippling, but Tomas spat at the dirt. Crazy old bat. Keep your freaks, Maria. But watch your backs, the river's patient. He lumbered off, the others trailing like scolded dogs, but the venom lingered, souring the air. Eli trembled in the aftermath, guiding his mother away as Jake paid for the tamales with shaking hands. He's right, Eli whispered later, back in the truck's sanctuary. Tomas runs with the same crew that hounded Rico. If they know about us, then we fight smart, Jake countered, firing the engine. Not with fists, but with truth. Your ma showed him steel today. We do the same. But as they wove through traffic toward the hospital, a tail appeared in the rear view, a dusty Chevy hugging their bumper too close. Jake's grip tightened on the wheel, heart thudding a warning. Coincidence? Or the first coil of a noose tightening around their necks? The hospital room was a sterile cocoon, monitors beeping a mechanical lullaby as Maria dozed in her adjustable bed, for drip glistening like dew on a spider's web. Jake paced the linoleum corridor, the confrontation at the market replaying in loops that frayed his nerves. Eli had stayed inside, holding his mother's hand, but Jake needed air, space to wrestle the beast of worry clawing his insides. He found solace on the rooftop garden, a patch of green defiance amid concrete sprawl, where potted cacti whispered of home. Leaning on the railing, he lit a rare smoke, inhaling deep as the city lights twinkled below like fallen stars. San Antonio by night was a seductress, all glamour and grit, but tonight it felt like a trap snapping shut. Footsteps echoed behind him, soft, deliberate, and Jake tensed, half expecting Tomas's bulk. Instead, it was Ruiz, the priest's cassock a black slash against the sodium lamps. "Mr. Harlan, a word, if you please." Jake extinguished the cigarette, grinding it under his heel. "Father, didn't peg you for a midnight prowler." Ruiz's smile was thin, lips pressed like a sealed envelope. "Prowling implies intent to harm. I'm here to offer counsel, to save a soul teetering on damnation's edge." He stepped closer, the scent of incense clinging like accusation. "Eli's mother confided in me. Your influence. It's a heavy yoke for a woman facing eternity." Jake's jaw clenched, the air between them crackling. "Influence? That's a pretty word for love, father. Eli's no teeter in soul. He's a man, whole and true. If your God's so keen on yokes, maybe he should lift the ones your flock's been slinging for years." The priest's eyes narrowed, fervor igniting. "Love? This perversion you peddle is no love. It's a lie from the pit, twisting God's design. Rico Vargas, did Eli tell you? Hung himself from shame, but we know the truth. Your kind lured him there. And now you circle Eli like a vulture, preying on his weakness while his mother weakens." The words struck like buckshot, scattering Jake's composure. Rico's shadow loomed larger, a specter Ruiz wielded like a crozier. "You don't know a damn thing about us," Jake growled, stepping into the priest's space. "Rico died, 'cause bigots like you built a cage he couldn't breathe in. Eli and me, we're breaking free, not cowering in your pews." Ruiz recoiled, but his voice rose, a whip-crack sermon. "Blasphemy. Repent, or you'll drag him to hell with you. Leave now. Spare Maria the grief of burying her son alive in sin." The rooftop door banged open then, Eli bursting through, face ashen from whatever nurse's whisper had drawn him up. "Jake? Father, what the hell?" His eyes darted between them, reading the tension like storm clouds. Ruiz straightened, composing himself. "Just saving your companion from error, my son. Heed my warning, both of you." He swept past, cassock billowing like bat wings, leaving a chill in his wake. Eli crossed to Jake in 3 strides, hands framing his face. What did he say? The usual poison. Blaming us for Rico, threatening hellfire. Jake leaned into the touch, drawing strength from Eli's steadiness. "But he don't scare me. You." Eli's laugh was hollow, echoing off the vents. "Scared? Hell, I'm terrified. Not of him. Of losing you to this madness. Ma's rallying tonight, talking about discharge. But if Tomas and his crew are sniffing around." Jake pulled him close, foreheads touching, breaths mingling in the humid night. "Then we get her out. Head back to the ranch, let the dust settle. But we don't run, not from priests or punks. We're Harlans and Navarros now, Eli. Bound tighter than blood." For a moment, Eli softened, lips brushing Jake's in a ghost of a kiss. "Bound? Yeah, but what if the ropes are frying?" The question lingered unanswered as they descended, the elevator's hum a dirge for fragile hopes. Inside the room, Maria stirred, her smile faint but fierce. "Mijo, Jake, dreamed of you both riding free. Promise me, don't let the wolves win." "We promise," they chorused, hands linking over hers. But as dawn crept in, painting the blinds gold, a call came from the lobby. Eli's truck, vandalized in the lot, tires slashed, a slur carved deep into the hood. The noose tightened, and Jake knew the fight had only just begun. Discharge day dawned muggy, the air thick with the promise of rain that never quite fell. Maria, bundled in a wheelchair pushed by a stoic nurse, clutched a string of rosary beads like a lifeline as they navigated the hospital's labyrinthine halls. Eli walked beside her, his sling discarded but the grays still pink and puckered under his shirt, a badge of his unraveling. Jake brought up the rear, duffel slung over one shoulder, eyes scanning every shadow for the glint of malice. The parking lot was a crime scene waiting to happen. Their pickup squatted like a wounded beast, the hood's fresh gouges weeping flecks of red paint onto the asphalt. A crowd had gathered, security, a couple of cops in ill-fitting blues, and Tomas, lounging against a patrol car with arms crossed, his smirk a slash of triumph. "See? Told you to watch your backs," Tomas drawled as they approached, voice carrying like a taunt across the lot. The cops turned, notebooks flipping open, but their glances at Jake and Eli held the same wary squint as the locals. Eli's face hardened to granite. "This your handiwork, Tomas. Carving your hate into metal, 'cause you can't spell it right." Tomas shrugged, feigning innocence. "Me? Nah. But folks talk, Eli. 'Bout how you're corruptin' the gringo, bringin' shame on your ma's doorstep. River's waitin' if you need a swim to wash it off." Maria's gasp cut the air, her voice rising frail but unyielding. "Vergenza? The shame's yours, Tomas Reyes, for wieldin' a knife like a coward. My son loves true. That's grace you wouldn't know with a heart full of rot." The big man flushed, stepping forward, but one cop, a wiry sergeant with a mustache like a broom bristle, intervened, hand on his baton. "Easy now. We've got witnesses plassin' you here last night, Reyes. Vandalism's a misdemeanor, but at hate crime. That's federal heat you don't want." Tomas's eyes bulged, bluster deflating. "Hate? It's truth-tellin'. They ain't natural." "Enough," the sergeant snapped, cuffing Tomas's wrist with efficient clicks. "You're comin' with us for questionin'. Clear the area, folks." The crowd dispersed like smoke, murmurs trailing, but the damage lingered, literal and otherwise. In the cab of a borrowed ranchero's truck, courtesy of a sympathetic orderly, Jake drove with white-knuckled focus, Eli shotgun, Maria in back with a pillow for her aches. The silence was a third passenger, heavy and brooding, until Maria broke it with a chuckle like rustling leaves. "That Tomas always was a bully with a bark bigger than his bite. Remember when you two were boys, Eli? He pushed you in the mud for wearing your sister's ribbon. You stood up, mud to your ears, and said, 'Ribbons don't make a man weak. They make him colorful.'" Eli's lips twitched, the memory a balm. "Yeah, got my nose bloodied for it. But colorful. That's us, ain't it, Ma? Jake and me, painting our own rainbow in a black and white world." She reached forward, squeezing his shoulder. "See me, Joe, and I'll be darned if I let wolves chase you from your colors." Her eyes met Jake's in the mirror, warm with a mother's fierce approval. "You keep him colorful, gringo. That's your job now." Jake nodded, throat tight. "Count on it, ma'am. He's my whole palate." The bungalow welcomed them with open arms, fresh sheets on the bed, a pot of frijoles simmering from a neighbor's quiet kindness. But peace was fleeting. By afternoon, Ruiz arrived unannounced, Bible in hand, his face a thunderhead. "Maria, I've come to pray. Alone, if you please. This arrangement must be addressed." Eli blocked the threshold, arms crossed. "No deal, Father. Whatever you've got to say it to all of us. Ma's part of this family, our family." The priest's nostrils flared, but Maria wheeled forward, her chair a chariot of defiance. "Let him in, Eli. Prayers are free, even sour ones. But hear this, my house, my rules. No fire and brimstone, just peace." Ruiz entered stiffly, perching on the edge of a floral armchair like it might contaminate him. His prayer was rote, Latin rolling off his tongue like marbles, but his eyes darted to Jake and Eli, accusatory arrows. When it ended, he leaned forward, voice low. "Maria, confess your complicity in this sin. Send them away, save your soul." She met his gaze, unblinking. "Confess? I've confessed my life, Father, raising a boy alone, burying a husband who drank more than he loved, watching my son flee hate only to find love worth fighting for. If that's sin, then God's got poor aim. Now get out. I've got real family to tend." Ruiz rose, sputtering indignation, but Eli herded him to the door with polite steel. As it clicked shut, Maria sagged, exhaustion claiming her. "Brave words, old woman," she murmured, but pride gleamed in her eyes. That night, with Maria asleep, Jake and Eli sat on the porch, beers sweating in their grips, the river's song a distant lull. "She's a force," Jake said, clinking bottles. "Like you." Eli shook his head, staring at the stars. "We're like you, stubborn as sin, lovin' fierce. But Tomas, he's just the start." Heard whispers at the hospital. "Folks planning a welcome home. That's more ambush than party. We gotta go, Jake. Tomorrow." Jake set his beer down, turning Eli to face him. "Go? Back to the ranch, yeah, but not running. We tell him straight. Pack Ma up, hit the road with heads high. Let him see we ain't breaking." Eli's eyes searched his, vulnerability cracking the cowboy mask. "What if they come after us? Like they did Rico? Then we ride faster. Together." Jake's hand cupped Eli's neck, pulling him into a kiss slow and deep, tasting of hops and hope, a seal against the gathering dark. But dawn brought betrayal's bite. Jake woke to Eli's shout from the kitchen, finding him staring at a note pinned to the fridge with a butcher knife. "Freaks leave or float. River waits." T scratched below, in childish block letters. "Burn in hell with your whore." Maria, awakened by the commotion, clutched her shawl. "Pack. Now. We're leaving this poison pit." As they loaded the truck, clothes, meds, a lifetime of trinkets, the neighborhood stirred, figures emerging like specters. Tomas's crew, baseball bats casual in their hands. Ruiz at the fore with a megaphone crackling to life. "Sinners, repent or be cast out. The faithful stand against abomination." The chant rose, a guttural roar. "Faggots go home." Rocks sailing to shatter the truck's taillight. Eli shielded his mother, face pale but set, while Jake gunned the engine, heart pounding a war drum. "Hold on." They peeled out, tires screaming, the mob surging like a wave crashing against the fence. A bottle arced, exploding against the bumper in a shower of glass, but they broke free, weaving through streets alive with hate. In the rear view, Ruiz's figure shrank, megaphone a futile bellow, but the echoes chased them, slurs like bullets, fear a hot coal in Jake's throat. Miles out, on the highway's endless ribbon, Maria's voice cut the adrenaline fog. "They fear what they can't control, Mijo. Your love, it's a light they envy in their dark." Eli, bandaging a cut from flying glass, met Jake's eyes. "She's right. We survived. That's victory." Jake nodded, hand finding Eli's over the console. "To the Double H. Where the trails are ours, and the secrets stay quiet." But as the city faded to dust-choked plains, a siren wailed behind, lights flashing, pulling them over. The cop from the lot stepped out, face grim. "Eli Navarro, got a warrant. Assault on Tomas Reyes last night. Witnesses say you jumped him." Eli's blood drained. "What? I was home. Save it for the judge." Cuffs clicked, cold and final, and Jake's world fractured anew. Assault? A setup, plain as the knife's edge. As Eli was led away, eyes locking on Jake's with desperate promise, the storm they'd fled roared back. Bigger, fiercer, demanding a reckoning none could evade. The county jail was a squat concrete bunker on the city's frayed edge, razor wire glinting like malicious teeth under the merciless sun. Jake paced its sterile lobby, Maria at his side in a vinyl chair that creaked with her every shallow breath. The air reeked of bleach and despair, fluorescent buzz a relentless drone against his skull. Hours bled into one another. Forms signed, coffee gone cold, lawyers' numbers scribbled on napkins, until a public defender with tired eyes ushered them to a visitation booth. Eli appeared through the plexiglass divider, orange jumpsuit a garish mockery of his skin, bruises blooming on his jaw like accusation. "It was Tomas," he said without preamble, voice muffled by the speaker. "Set me up, slipped in after you crashed on the couch, clocked me while I slept. Woke up with his fist in my face, screaming about Rico. I shoved him off, nothing more. But his buddies, they twisted it." Jake's fists balled against the counter, knuckles whitening. "Bastards. We'll prove it. Get witnesses, cameras from the street." Maria pressed her palm to the glass, tears carving tracks. "Mijo, be strong. This is the devil's last gasp." Eli's smile was a ghost, but his eyes burned. "For you, Ma. For Jake. Tell him. I love him enough to fight dirty if I have to." The guard tapped his watch, ending it abrupt as a slammed door, and Eli was gone, swallowed by the corridor's maw. Outside, Jake loaded Maria into the borrowed truck, resolve hardening like cooling steel. We ain't leaving without him. Calls to the ranch. Old partners who owe favors. Private eye, if it comes to that. She nodded, clutching her beads. Go to the mission first. Father Ruiz, he knows Tomas's sins. Squeeze him. The Alamo's shadow fell long as they approached, tourists milling oblivious to the undercurrents. Ruiz was in the sacristy, polishing chalices with methodical strokes, but his composure cracked at their entrance. Maria, Mr. Harlan, come to beg forgiveness. Came for truth, Jake growled, looming in the doorway. Tomas's lying through his teeth. Eli's innocent, you know it. What did he promise you to keep quiet? Absolution for your own skeletons. Ruiz's cloth stilled, face paling. Skeletons? I serve God. God or Tomas's bottle fund. Maria interjected, wheeling closer. I know your visits to the cantina, Father. Whispers of hands wandering where they shouldn't on altar boys. Tomas covers for you, and you preach his hate. End it. Testify. The priest crumpled, chalice clattering. It's not. I never. But guilt's floodgates opened, confessions spilling in a torrent, nights blurred by tequila, regrets buried under dogma. Tomas threatened exposure if I didn't back his play. Said Eli's kind deserved the cage. Jake's phone buzzed, a text from the ranch foreman. Cops in TX running prints off that knife. Matches Tomas's priors. Bail posted tomorrow. Relief surged, but Jake pressed Ruiz. You tell the DA, or we do. Your choice. By evening, the priest's statement hit the prosecutor's desk like a thunderclap, charges crumbling under its weight. Bail was expedited, and Don saw Jake and Maria at the gates as Eli emerged, free air hitting him like grace. The embrace was a dam breaking. Tears, laughter, vows whispered fierce. Never again, Eli murmured into Jake's neck. No more secrets. We tell the world, loud as a stampede. Maria watched, beaming. To the ranch, then. Home. The road north unspooled like a promise kept, dust trails marking their passage. Behind, San Antonio shrank to a scar. Ahead, the double H waited. Fences to mend, sunsets to share, love to live unshadowed. Twists had tested them, prejudices battered like hail, but in the quiet spaces between heartbeats, they'd found their truth. Two cowboys, bound not by fear, but by a love as vast and unyielding as the Texas sky. Yet as the horizon beckoned, Eli's hand in Jake's, a final surprise stirred. Maria, from the back seat, slipping a faded photo into their joined palms. Two young men, arms slung casual, grins defiant under the mission's bell. Rico, she said softly. He left this for Eli. Said if love's a revolution, start with forgiveness. Tears pricked, but Jake squeezed Eli's fingers. We will. For him. For us. And in that vow, the secrets quieted at last, trails leading not to endings, but to endless dawns. The Double H Ranch sprawled across the high plains like a living entity, its barbed wire veins pulsing with the rhythm of grazing herds and whispering winds. Jake eased the truck down the gravel drive, dust plume rising like a victory banner, Maria's eyes widening at the vista of rolling pastures framed by cottonwoods that danced in the breeze. Eli leaned out the window, inhaling deep, the scent of sage and sun-baked earth a balm to his battered soul. Home, he breathed, the word no longer a loaded gun but a hearth fire. Old-timers gathered at the bunkhouse as they pulled up, wrinkled faces under battered hats, grins splitting like dry riverbeds in rain. Foreman Cal extended a bare paw hand to Jake. Heard you tangled with city snakes. Glad you slithered free. His gaze softened on Eli. And you brought company. Welcome, ma'am. Maria dismounted with Jake's arms steadying her, surveying the spread with a nod of approval. Big sky, good bones. Reminds me of my father's spread in Chihuahua, before the droughts took it. She clasped Cal's hand, her grip surprisingly firm. I'm Maria, Eli's ma, and this Cowboys keeper, whether he likes it or not. Laughter rippled, easing the knot in Jake's chest. The ranch was sanctuary, a bubble where judgments dissolved in the daily grind of branding irons and baled hay. But even here, whispers had wings. News of their San Antonio saga had flown faster than a spooked Mustang. courtesy of idle phone lines and potluck gossip. They settled Maria in the foreman's old cabin, spruced with fresh linens and a view of the creek that chuckled over smooth stones. Eli fussed like a hen, fluffing pillows and brewing manzanilla tea, while Jake hauled in crates of her herbs and icons. "You'll like it here, Ma," Eli said, tucking a blanket around her knees. Quiet but full. No megaphones, just birdsong. She patted his cheek, eyes twinkling despite the fatigue etching her features. "Full, see. With love that don't hide." Her gaze slid to Jake, inclusive and warm. "You too, go ride. Stretch those legs. I'll nap and dream of tamales." The stables beckoned, horses nickering greetings as Jake saddled Midnight and Eli claimed his bay, Luna, a sleek mare with a gait like poetry. They rode out at a trot, the rhythm sinking their breaths, the world narrowing to hoofbeats and horizon. For the first time in weeks, tension uncoiled from Eli's shoulders, the wind scouring away the jail's stink and the mob's roar. "Feels like breathing again," Eli called over the breeze, Luna matching Midnight stride for stride. They veered toward the north pasture, where wildflowers nodded purple heads amid the grass, a secret meadow Jake had claimed as theirs. Jake reined in, dismounting to spread a blanket pilfered from the tack room. "Brought lunch. Cheese, apples, nothing fancy." They ate in companionable silence, backs against a lone oak, its branches a cathedral vault. But Eli's quiet turned pensive, fingers tracing patterns in the dirt. "Spill it," Jake prompted, tossing an apple core to the squirrels chattering overhead. Eli sighed, leaning into Jake's side. "Rico's photo. Ma giving it to us. It's like closing a circle I didn't know was open. Forgiving myself, for surviving, for loving you without his ghost chining me." Jake draped an arm around him, chin resting on Eli's crown. "Ghosts don't chain if you light candles. We burn bright now. Your ma sees it, the hands see it. Hell, even Cal's been dropping hints about a commitment ceremony under the big oak come fall." Eli's head snapped up, eyes wide. "Ceremony? Like vows. Like rings and riding off into the sunset, yeah? If you're game." Jake's tone was light, but his heart thrummed a hopeful tattoo. Eli's grin dawned slow, radiant. "Game? I'd lasso the moon for that, Harlan." Their kiss sealed it, lazy and lingering, the meadow holding its breath. But idols fracture. Hooves thundered distant, a rider barreling toward them, Cal's nephew, young Tomas. No relation to the San Antonio snake, but the name still Jared, waving his hat frantic. "Jake." "Eli." Trouble at the creek cabin. Ma Navarro took a fall. Panic surged like a flash flood. They galloped back, dust choking, arriving to chaos. Maria on the cabin floor, conscious but pale, clutching her side. Cal kneeling, phone to ear summoning the doc. Slipped fetchin' water. She wheezed as Jake scooped her up, Eli hovering white-faced. Nothing but pride bruised. The doctor, a wiry vet from Lubbock with a gentle drawl, arrived in a rattletrap jeep, pronouncing cracked ribs and exhaustion but no breaks. "Rest, ma'am. No heroics." He taped her up, prescribed painkillers, and left with a wink. Tough as boot leather, this one. As night fell, stars pricking the velvet sky, Jake and Eli took shifts by her bed, the cabin lantern casting golden pools. Maria slept fitful, murmuring in Spanish, prayers mingled with memories, but in lucid moments, she gripped their hands. "Family," she'd whisper. "My beautiful boys." Dawn brought improvement, color returning to her cheeks over oatmeal and stories of ranch lore. But whispers from the bunkhouse reached Jake's ears, hands uneasy, murmurs of city trouble following him, fears that Maria's frailty might sour the spread's hard-won peace. Cal pulled him aside by the corral, pipe clenched in teeth. "Folks respect you too. Earned at Minden, fences literal and otherwise. But her boy's ma, some see her as a magnet for more drama. Tomas, that fool pup, is stirring pots, saying we oughta protect the ranch by sending him packing." Jake's temper flared, but he banked it. "Protect? From what, love? Tell him straight. Eli and me, we're the backbone here. Maria's family. Any who can't stomach that can ride the chuck wagon out." Cal nodded, clapping his shoulder. "Spoke my piece. Just watch your backs. Pups bite when cornered." The warning echoed as Jake rejoined Eli at the cabin, finding him strumming an old guitar, Maria humming along to corridos that wove tales of lost loves and reclaimed honor. "Sing with us," she urged, and Jake obliged, his baritone rough but earnest, the trio's harmony of fragile armor. Yet crack spidered. That afternoon, as Eli scouted strays with young Tomas, a shout split the air, hooves pounding, Luna bolting riderless across the ridge. Eli sprinted back, face ashen, Tomas trailing smug. Horse spooked, threw him clean. Fool was daydreaming about his gringo. Jake found Eli in the scrub, ankle twisted, cursing through gritted teeth. Bastard nudged her with his mount, deliberate. Testing me, like San Antonio all over. Rage boiled, but Jake hauled him up, slinging Eli's arm over his shoulders. "We report it. No more hiding." Back at the ranch, accusations flew in the mess hall, Tomas denying with wide-eyed innocence, hands dividing like oil and water. Cal mediated, but doubt seeded. Kids green, but Eli's words gold. Still, accidents happen. Maria, hearing the ruckus from her porch, wheeled out frail but fierce. "Accidents? Like the river for Puerto Rico? I know boys like you, Tomas, hide in fear behind pranks. But fear don't fix nothing. Apologize, or ride out with your tail tucked." The youth flushed crimson, mumbling sorries, but his eyes smoldered resentment. As he slunk off, Eli confided to Jake by the fire pit that night, "He's Tomas 2.0. And if the hands split, then we mend, like always." Jake stoked the flames, sparks ascending like prayers. "But first, we talk, to everyone. No more quiet secrets." The town hall under the stars was Jake's brainchild, a bonfire gathering, guitars and beans, where truths could breathe. Hands trickled in wary, Maria at the fore in a shawl like a queen's mantle. Eli stood tall beside Jake, ankle braced, voice steady as he recounted San Antonio's siege, not for pity, but proof of resilience. "I'm gay," Eli said simple, chin lifted. "Love this man beside me. Loved before, lost hard. But here, you took us in, no questions. Don't let whispers turn you to wolves." Silence stretched, taut as wire. Then Cal rose, clapping slow. Eli Navarro's rode harder miles than most. "Love's true? That's man enough for me." Murmurs swelled to nods. Young Tomas silent in the shadows, but the tide turned. Embraces, toasts, a guitar passed hand to hand. Maria beamed, whispering to Jake, "See? Light scatters dark." But as embers died, a lone figure lingered. Tomas, eyes downcast. "Meant no harm," he muttered to Eli. "Just scared. My brother's like you." Hit it, ran off. "Thought if I pushed, you'd fight back strong." Confession hung, raw, and Eli clasped his shoulder. "Push wrong, it breaks. Push right, builds." The pup nodded, vanishing into night, but Jake sensed ripples, forgiveness a seed, not yet sprouted. Weeks wove into routine. Maria healing slow, her hands guiding tamale making in the cookhouse, laughter echoing as she teased the hands' palates. Eli's ankle mended with therapy rides, Jake at his side, their bond a lodestar. Yet undercurrents stirred. Letters from San Antonio, Ruiz's contrite missives seeking amends, Tomas's brother, surfacing via email, a tentative bridge to buried pasts. One crisp morning, as frost silvered the grass, Eli found Jake by the creek, skipping stones with uncharacteristic aimlessness. Penny 4M. Jake caught a skipped pebble midair, thinking 'bout forever. Rings, vows, that oak ceremony. But with Ma here, it's more. A family, real and root deep. Eli grinned, pulling him close. "Then let's plant. Ask her proper." Maria's yes came tear-bright over Pozole, her blessing a rosary draped over their joined hands. "Santos y pecadores," she toasted. "Saints and sinners. Makes the best stories." Preparations bloomed, Cal carving rings from mesquite, hands stringing lanterns in the oak's boughs. But on the eve, storm clouds gathered literal and not. Tomas bursting into the bunkhouse, face wild. "Riders comin', San Antonio plates. Say they're kin, but packin' heat. Tomas Sr., your snake. Heard 'bout the wed-in. Vowin' to purge the perversion from Navarro blood." Eli paled, old fears clawing up. "How many?" 5 armed. Head in for the cabin to rescue your ma. Jake's blood iced to fire. Round up the hands. No blood if we can help it, but we protect our own. The posse formed swift, Cal with shotgun, hands with ropes and resolve, Maria barricaded safe with the womenfolk. Jake and Eli rode out flank, hearts thunderous as the intruder's truck crested the ridge, dust boiling like wrath. Stand down. Jake bellowed, rifle cradled non-threatening. The lead truck halted, Tomas Sr. emerging, older, grizzled, eyes fanatic. Navarro filth ends here. Hand the witch over, or we take what's ours. Eli spurred forward, voice ablade. She's my mother, not your trophy. And I'm no filth, I'm free. Ride off, or face men who love harder than you hate. Tension crackled, guns twitching, but then, a shot, wild from a rear truck, clipping Cal's hat. Chaos erupted, horses rearing, but Jake's shout cut through. Enough. Look, cops on the horizon. Your warrant's burning hot, Tomas. Assault, vandalism, federal now, with that hate parade. Sirens wailed confirmation, blue lights flashing as county cruisers boxed the interlopers. Tomas Sr. deflated, bluster to blubber. Just protecting the faith. Faith don't need bullets. Eli spat, as cuffs clicked. Try love sometime. As the dust settled, the ranch exhaled, hands cheering, Maria emerging to clasp Eli fierce. My revolutionaries, she murmured. The ceremony dawned clear, oak branches a green canopy, lanterns twinkling like blessings. Vows exchanged simple. In dust and dawn, I choose you. Rings slid on, mesquite warm as promises. Maria's tears fell joyful, Cal's whoop echoing to the herds. But in the feast's lull, Eli drew Jake aside, Rico's photo in hand. Burn it with me? Let him rest free. Flames devoured the image gentle, ashes scattering on wind, a final release. Years later, the Double H thrived, Maria's cabin a hub of stories, her health a steady flame. Jake and Eli rode trails hand in invisible clasp, secrets quiet, love loud. Twists had forged them, misunderstandings mended, prejudices plowed under like fallow fields. In the end, two cowboys proved, trails lead where hearts dare, and quiet truths echo eternal. Under the big oak's benevolent shade, the wedding had sealed more than vows. It had stitched the ranch into a tapestry of unlikely kin. Maria, with her ribs healed and spirit unbowed, took to the role of matriarch like a duck to irrigation ditches, her kitchen a command center where spices from smuggled pouches mingled with the hand's bland staples. Too much cumin, not enough soul, she chid Cal, who grumbled but secretly craved her pozole. Eli watched it unfold with a mix of awe and amusement, his laughter freer now, the San Antonio shadows receding like a bad dream at high noon. Jake, ever the fixer, channeled his energies into the land, new irrigation lines snaking through pastures, a windmill groaning back to life to pull sweet water from aquifers long parched. But in stolen moments, by the creek where willows wept silver, he'd pull Eli close, murmuring, "Married life suits you, cowboy." That ring catching the light like a sheriff's badge. Eli's retort was always a kiss, fierce and claiming. "Suits us. But don't get smug, still gotta outride you come roundup." Roundup season crashed in like a herd at full gallop, dust thick as regret, the air humming with lowing cattle and shouted orders. Jake and Eli worked seamless, anticipating each other's moves like dance partners long attuned. The flick of a rein, the nod that sent a stray calf looping back to the herd. Young Tomas, redeemed and eager, shadowed Eli, absorbing vaquero wisdom with wide eyes. "Never thought I'd say it, but you're all right, Navarro. Brother's coming up next month, says thanks for the bridge." Eli clapped his back, pride swelling. "Tell him the oak's waitin'. Family's got room." Maria, exempted from the fray by doctor's orders, held fort at the cook wagon, dishing out burritos wrapped in foil that steamed with her secret salsa. Her health held steady, chemo a fading specter, but fatigue nipped at her heels like a persistent coyote. Jake noticed first, the way her smiles lagged, hands trembling on ladle. "Doc in town tomorrow," he told Eli that night. Bunkhouse snores a chorus around them. "Full check. No argument." Eli nodded, tracing Jake's jaw in the moonlight slanting through the window. She's tough, but yeah, can't lose her now, not when she's just found her stride. The doctor's verdict landed gentle but firm, remission teetering, a new trial in Austin to chase. Aggressive, but promising, the man said, his drawl soothing as balm. Maria's face crumpled private, but she rallied quick, clutching their hands. Trials? I've been trialin' life since the border crossin'. This one's just another fence to jump. They caravaned to Austin weekly, the drive a ritual of audiobooks and pit stops at roadside diners where Maria critiqued the Huevos Rancheros with gourmet scorn. Eli and Jake alternated shifts, their presence a anchor, Eli's stories of ranch antics drawing her laughs, Jake's quiet strength holding space for her fears. You boys, she'd say, squeezing knuckles white, are my novena made flesh. Back at the Double H, life pulsed on, but undercurrents simmered. Letters from Ruiz arrived sporadic, penitent scrawls seeking counsel, the priest unraveling his own threads of hypocrisy. Forgive me, one read, for wielding faith as a whip when it should be a wing. Eli penned replies measured, offering absolution laced with boundaries. Heal your heart, Father. Ours beats free now. Tomas the Younger proved a quiet ally, his brother's visit a tentative thaw. Dinners under the oak, stories swapped of hidden loves in hostile lands. The ranch hands, once wary, warmed gradual. A few confessed their own secrets over beers. A uncle here, a cousin there, turning suspicion to solidarity. Cal even hung a rainbow bandana on the corral gate, winking, for luck, and 'cause it matches my kerchief. Yet paradise breeds its serpents. One sweltering July eve, as thunder grumbled distant threats, a stranger rolled up in a gleaming SUV, dust caking its underbelly like war paint. He was polished menace, tailored shirt under a BOLO tie, eyes sharp as a hawk's talon. Name's Harlan, he drawled, extending a hand to Jake that he ignored. Cousin thrice removed. Heard 'bout your little shindig. Family name's Takina beaten in Austin circles. Jake's blood chilled. He'd buried this ghost deep. The Harlan clan from the city, oil money and old money, who'd disowned him years back with a curt check and a colder letter. Fix yourself or fade. Eli stepped up, arm brushing Jake's in silent steel. We're Harlan's here, all right. Dust and all. State your business, cousin. The man, Victor, smirked, scanning the ranch with proprietary disdain. Business? Salvage. Grandpa's will's up for probate. Clauses 'bout upholdin' the line. Your union? Taints it. Sign over your share, or we contest. Ma's health? Leverage. Maria, drawn by voices, wheeled out, her gaze pinning Victor like a lepidopterist's pin. Taint. Boy, your blood's so thin it's blue, mine's red with fight. Threaten my sons? You'll need more than paper. Victor's laugh was silk over shards. Sons? Cute. Think on it. He tossed a card, embossed, inevitable, and drove off, taillights fading to rubies in dusk. The threat hung like humidity, probate a sword over their heads. Jake paced the porch, fury a live wire. Share? It's my sweat built this, not their oil spills. Eli halted him, hands firm on shoulders. Then we fight legal. Cal knows a lawyer in Amarillo. Queer as a $3 bill, tough as nails. The lawyer, Lena, was a firebrand in pearls, her office a fortress of files and forgotten coffee mugs. Contests like this? Smoke. No moral clause holds in modern courts. Love's no taint. But she warned of delays, costs, the Harlan clan's deep pockets dragging it out like a bad tooth. Weeks ground on, papers shuffling, Maria's treatments intensifying. Victor's shadows loomed, surveyors sniffing boundaries, whispers in town about that deviant Harlan ruining the legacy. Hands stood firm, but strain showed, overtime unpaid, morale fraying at edges. One night, storm breaking full fury, Jake found Eli by the stable, soaked and staring at lightning-veined sky. Can't sleep. What if we lose it all? Ranch, Ma's peace. Jake pulled him under the eaves, rain sheeting around. Lose? We built this from grit. Victor's bluff, empty as his heart. Their embrace turned desperate, bodies aligning against the gale, love a bulwark. Mari and you was the win. Rest follows. Dawn brought a courier, Probate judges ruling, swift and scathing. No basis for contest. Harlan legacy endures in character, not clause. Victor's concession call was terse, defeat bitter. Keep your dirt farm. But families fractured. You did that. No, Jake replied calm. We mended it. Relief washed, but scars lingered, boundaries reinforced, fences taller. Maria's next scan glowed clean, remission solid, and she celebrated with a feast under the oak, lanterns swaying like fireflies. To fractures healed, she toasted, eyes on her boys. Eli, ring glinting, raised his glass. And futures forged. Yet in quiet nights, Jake pondered twists unforeseen. Victor's card, unburned, tucked in a drawer, a reminder that kin could wound deeper than strangers. But with Eli's head on his chest, Maria's laughter from the cabin, the ranch thrummed alive. Secrets, once burdens, now were stories, told bold, binding tighter than any will. Fall painted the plains in amber and rust, harvest moon rising fat and gold as the trial's dust settled. Lena's invoice settled, Jake pored over ledgers by lamplight, Eli massaging knots from his neck. Let it go, Eli murmured. Victor's gone slinking. Jake sighed, leaning back. Gone, but echoing. Makes me think, kids? Adopt, maybe. Pass this on proper. Eli's hands stilled, wonder dawning. Kids? Yeah, a passel of them, raising hell in these pastures. Maria, eavesdropping from the doorway, clapped delighted. Abuelos in the making. I'll teach him tamales and tall tales. Dreams seeded, but reality rooted first. Maria's strength waxed, her days filled with garden plots where Childs thrived defiant, hands seeking her wisdom on everything from fevers to fences. Tomas's brother arrived, a soft-spoken mechanic named Alex, his eyes lighting on the ranch like homecoming. Dinners stretched long, stories bridging borders. Alex's hidden years in the closet, now open with a partner waiting in the wings. You gave me courage, Alex told Eli one dusk as they mended a windmill's creek. Coming out to family? Scary as a twister, but you're wet in pics. Inspired. Eli grinned, wrench turning smooth. Twisters pass. Love stays. Winter whispered in with first frost, the herd bunkered in valleys, hands holding up with card games and yarns. Jake and Eli claimed the loft for a honeymoon, stolen days of riding fringes, picnics in snow-dusted meadows, nights tangled in quilts against the chill. This, Jake whispered once, tracing Eli's scars, is the life I fled Austin for. Eli's reply was a vow renewed, bodies and souls entwined, and the one I crossed deserts for. But spring unearthed an old vein. Digging post holes near the creek, Jake's shovel struck metal, a rusted box, locked tight. Inside, brittle letters and a locket. Jake's grandfather's, from a lover lost to war, words aching with forbidden longing. My heart's cowboy, one red, rides eternal. Jake shared it with Eli that night, fire-crackling witness. See? Blood runs true, love's thread, woven quiet. Eli nodded, locket chain glinting. Quiet no more. We'll frame it, in the bunkhouse, for all to see. The display sparked talks deep into nights, hands unburdening closets, alliances forged in vulnerability. Cal confessed a wartime romance, lost to don't ask. Tomas admitted crushes confused till Alex's visit. Maria curated it all, her museum of hearts, a corner shelf blooming with tokens. Yet joy's peak invites plummet. Midsummer scorched the plains, drought cracking earth like old leather. Wells ran shallow, herd thinning on sparse grays. Jake's ledgers bled red. Victor's contest a phantom debt lingering. Sell off acreage. Cal suggested grim, but Jake balked. The land was vain, not commodity. Eli, scouting water with Alex, stumbled on a spring, hidden seep under willows, enough to sustain if piped right. Miracle, he radioed, voice triumphant. Pipes laid in frenzy, hands united. Maria blessing the first flow with a splash and prayer. Rain followed, tentative then torrent, greening the brown. See, she crowed at the victory barbecue. Love calls the clouds. But in the revelry's afterglow, Alex pulled Eli aside, face grave. Brother, San Antonio PD called. Tomas Sr. Heart attack and lockup. Died ranting about you. Guilt, maybe. Or hate's last gasp. Eli sagged, complex grief twisting. Hate killed him slow. Wish I'd reached sooner. Jake found him later by the creek, stones skipping somber. You reached plenty. Forgiveness ain't always returned. Eli leaned into him, water murmuring absolution. Yeah, but damn, it stings. Healing came gradual, Alex staying on to help, his partner joining. A wiry artist named Sam, sketching the ranch in charcoals that captured its soul. Their union, quiet under the oak, echoed Jake and Eli's. Vows exchanged with hands bearing witness. Maria's rosary, beads, and necklace for Sam. Years layered like sedimentary rock. The ranch expanded modest, solar panels glinting on barn roofs. A bunkhouse wing for Maria's growing grandnieces and nephews. Foster kids placed short-term, their chaos a delight. Jake and Eli navigated adoption trails, paperwork a marathon, but approval came sweet. A boy named Rio, 8 and wary, with eyes like Eli's, haunted till the horses claimed him. Maria doted, teaching him Spanish swears disguised as songs, her health a steady plateau. Abuela's secret, she'd wink. Is lovin' fierce enough to scare death off? One golden autumn, as leaves confettied the pastures, Victor reappeared, not in suit, but jeans faded, hat humble. Cousin, he said stiff at the gate, lost my way. Wife left, business tanked. Saw your spread in a mag, thought. Maybe roots. Jake eyed him long, old wounds throbbing. Roots gotta earn soil. Start in the bunks, muck stalls, proof. Victor nodded, swallowing pride. Months in, he softened, stories round the fire of his own hidden pains, a father cold as probate ink. You were right. Fractured's fixable. Eli, ever the bridge, clasped his hand. Welcome to the mend. Maria's passing came gentle. Under that big oak, Rio curled at her side, Jake and Eli flanking. My Cowboys, she whispered last, ride the stars now. Her funeral was a ranch rite. Procession on horseback, songs in 2 tongues, earth returned to earth with tamale feasts after. Grief carved hollows, but filled slow with memory's gold. Rio thrived, calling Jake, Pa, tentative, then true. Eli's laughter returned, laced with her inflections. Victor stayed, a steady hand, his BOLO tie traded for chaps. Decades on, the double H endured, trails dustier but trod proud. Jake and Eli, silver-threaded, rode at dawn still, rings worn thin as whispers. Worth every twist, Jake say, hand in Eli's. Every scar, Eli'd echo. And in quiet secrets shared, 2 cowboys proved, love's the longest ride, eternal as the plains. Rio's adoption papers crinkled fresh in Jake's pocket as they rode back from the county office. The boys' whoops echoing across the pastures like victory cries. 8 years old, all gangly limbs and gap-toothed grins, Rio clutched the reins of his pony, a sturdy, paint-named Spot, with the focus of a born rider. Pa, look, I didn't fall once, he hollered, Spot's trot bouncy but sure. Jake's chest swelled, pride a warm tide. Knew you had it in ya, son. Navarro grit, Harlan heart. Beside him, Eli beamed, hazel eyes misting under the brim of his Stetson, the weight of Maria's absence lighter today, buoyed by this new branch on their family tree. The ranch welcomed them boisterous, Cal clapping Rio's back with a deputy wrangler now, hands pressing fudge and high-fives. Victor, elbows deep in engine grease from a tractor tune-up, wiped clean to hoist Rio high. Cousin's kid? That's Harlan Gold. His transformation lingered a quiet miracle, from city shark to ranch mainstay, his contributions steady as the windmills creak. That evening, the cookhouse thrummed with makeshift ceremony. Lena the lawyer, guest of honor, toasting with sweet tea. From hate crimes to hearth, you boys rewrite the book. Rio, perched on Eli's knee, mangled a tamale with glee, sauce smearing like war paint. When's my room ready, Dad? The slip, Dad, not the hesitant Pa, landed soft, sealing bonds invisible but iron. Jake ruffled his hair. Tomorrow, bunk beds, even, room for trouble. Nights settled into rhythm. Rio's bedtime stories of Maria's mischief, Eli's voice weaving Spanish into English like threads in a serape. Jake watched from doorways, heart full to brimming. The loft their sanctuary where whispers turned to plans. School in town come fall. Jake murmured one night. Eli's head pillowed on his chest. Bus route set. And fencing lessons. Can't have our deputy dodging calves. Eli chuckled, fingers tracing Jake's wedding band. Our deputy. Sounds right. But what about his other dads? The ones we take in short. The foster wing, Maria's legacy, housed transients now. A teen named Mia, sharp-tongued and horse-shy, thawing under Spot's patient nose. She's got fire, Eli said. Like Mom. We'll keep her long as she needs. Fire tested them soon. Drought's embers from years back reignited that summer, heat waves warping the air like funhouse mirrors. Wells gurgled protests, grass crisping to tinder. Jake called emergency meetings, maps unrolled on the mess table. Rotate herds north, lease that BLM land, and pray for rain. Prayers heeded, but not before a stray spark from Victor's welder jumped fence, igniting a swath of dry scrub. Flames raced hungry, smoke black as accusation, hands scrambling with hoses and backburns. Rio, wide-eyed at the stable, clutched Eli's leg. Is it like the stories? Bad men set in fires. Eli knelt, calm anchor. Nah, son. Accidents happen. We fight 'em together. He handed Rio a bucket, small hands joining the chain, water sloshing defiant. Jake directed from the line, sweat stinging eyes, Victor at his side with a beat-up pumper truck. My fault. Victor grunted, pumping furious. Sloppy weld. Save it. Jake barked, but tone lacked bite. Pump harder, winds shifted. Sirens wailed distant aid. Ranchers converging like kin in crisis. Neighbors who'd once whispered now wielding shovels shoulder to shoulder. By dusk, the blaze choked on its own ash, contained to acres scarred but not fatal. Rio, soot-streaked hero, earned a badge whittled from oak. Firefighter Wrangler, Cal declared, pinning it proud. In the aftermath, blisters blistered and lessons learned. Victor cornered Jake by the charred fence. Oh, you. For not booting me when I deserved it. Jake clapped his shoulder, dust cascading. Debts paid in sweat, cousin. Stick around. Rio could use an uncle with wrench skills. Laughter bridged old chasms, Victor's nod solemn. Count on it. Fall brought cooler breaths, school buses rumbling, Rio's backpack bulging with crayons and trepidation. What if they laugh? About two dads. Eli packed his lunch, apple slices artful. Laugh? Let M. Then you tell M about the ranch. How we outrun twisters and tame mustangs. They'll envy the dust on your boots. Town proved kinder than feared. Teachers welcome warm, playdates tentative but blooming. Mia, now 16 and foster permanent, tutored Rio evenings, her sketches adorning cabin walls, galloping herds, oak weddings, family portraits where love defied labels. Yet winter's grip squeezed unforeseen. A flu swept the plains, sparing none. Rio spiked fever high, coughs racking small frame. Jake and Eli tag-teamed vigils, cool cloths and chicken soup, Maria's recipes invoked like spells. Abuela's brew, Eli coaxed, spooning broth. Chase's demons. Delirium brought nightmares, Rio thrashing, mumbling of bad fires and lost mamas. Jake held him steady, heart fracturing. We're here, buddy. No losing. Doctors dosed antibiotics. Crisis crested and ebbed. Rio rallying pale but plucky. Beat it, he croaked, fist bumping weak. Like you and Dad. Unbreakable. The scare etched deeper lines, prompting talks hushed. Wolves updated, guardians named. Cal and Victor as backups, Lena trustee. Not leaving him adrift, Jake vowed, Eli's agreement fierce. Spring thawed with renewal. Mia adopting a kitten from the barn, naming it Luna after Eli's mare. Alex and Sam settling permanent. Their tiny home a studio of canvases capturing ranch soul. Victor courted quiet, a widow from town named Rosa, her bakery scones a bunkhouse staple. One balmy eve, as fireflies danced creekside, Rio tugged Jake's sleeve. Pa? Tell me about Grandpa, the one with the locket. Jake obliged, tale unfolding of hidden loves in harder times. He rode secret, like we do open. Your turn to blaze trails. Rio's eyes gleamed. With you? Always. Eli joined, arms encircling, family knot tight. Twists behind. more ahead, but in their weave, strength endless. Summer solstice saw the ranch alight with festival. Cal's idea, a hoedown to honor Maria, lanterns strung barn to bunkhouse. Music wailed fiddles and accordions, tables groaned under potluck bounty. Rosa's pies, Sam's charcuterie oddity, Mia's experimental salads earning side eyes but seconds. Rio danced clumsy with Mia, laughter bubbling. Victor twirled Rosa graceful, his city polish shed like snakeskin. Jake and Eli claimed a slow waltz, boots scuffing dirt floor, whispers close. 10 years wed, Jake murmured. Feels like yesterday's kiss in the hay. Eli's grin flashed. And tomorrow's promise. Love you, Harlan. The night peaked with toasts. Cal's gruff, Lena's legal witty, Rio's mangled but mighty. To Abuela's stars and Pa's stars, Shernine forever. Fireworks cracked skyward, colors blooming defiant. But in the hush after, Jake glimpsed a shadow at the fence, a figure slipping away, envelope dropped. He retrieved it, wax seal cracked, invitation, elegant script. Harlan family reunion, Dallas. Reconcile. No strings. Eli read over shoulder, brow furrowing. Victor's kin? Or trap? Test, Jake decided. We go. Show him our strings unbreakable. Dallas dazzled, skyscrapers spearing clouds. The reunion in a club lounge, all crystal and pretense. Harlan's milled, cousins in suits, aunts with pearls, eyes widening on Jake's entrance, Eli at arm, Rio between clutching hands. Victor greeted awkward, Rosa at side. Told them. About us, all of us. The elder aunt, silver coiffed, approached hesitant. Nephew. Rumors. But seeing you whole? With family. Her hug surprised, tentative thaw. Talks flowed stilted then smooth. Apologies veiled in nostalgia, Rio's chatter disarming. You got horses? Our ranch has 100. By night's end, bridges half-built, and uncle slipped Jake a check. For the boy. No clauses. Strings cut, indeed. Back on planes, the gift seeded scholarships for Rio and Mia, futures funded. Full circle, Eli said, watching Rio gallop free. Jake pulled him close. And spinning on. Years spun, Rio to teen, lanky and laughing. First crush a ranch hand's daughter, Eli's counsel gentle. Heart's yours, chase true. Mia to college, art major, her murals on barn walls legacy. Maria's oak memorial garden bloomed wildflowers, her stories in Rio's tales. Victor and Rosa wed simple, Jake best man, toasting to late men's. Eli and Jake, graying graceful, rode dawn still, conversations deeper. Regrets? Eli asked once, raining at the creek. None, Jake swore. You? Only not sooner. Love's quiet secrets, once fraught, now were hearth songs, sung loud, echoing eternal across dust trails unbroken. Rio's high school graduation dawned blistering, the auditorium air-conditioned oasis amid June's furnace. Jake fidgeted in his starched button-down, tie a noose of polyester, Eli beside him in similar discomfort, both dreading the speeches but beaming at the program's bold print, Rio Harlan Navarro. The hyphen, their quiet insistence, a declaration etched small but seismic. On stage, Rio strode confident, cap tassel swaying, his valedictorian address a blend of ranch grit and wide-eyed wonder. Family ain't blood always. It's the folks who pull you from stampedes, literal and not. My dad's taught me that love's the strongest lasso. Whistles erupted from their row, Cal hooting loudest, Victor pumping fist, Mia filming teary from the aisle. Diploma in hand, Rio bounded down, engulfing them in hugs bony but fierce. Did it. College next. Vet school, like you said, Pa? Jake ruffled his hair, voice thick. Knew you would, son. Now, tamales at home, Ma's recipe, extra heat. The feast sprawled picnic-style in the north pasture, blankets under cottonwoods, hands mingling with town folk who'd once side-eyed but now clapped backs. Rosa's pies steamed beside Lena's quips, Alex and Sam unveiling a portrait, the family, oak-framed, Rio central on spot. For the bunkhouse wall, Sam said, brush still flecked. Your story, painted proud. Eli traced the canvas, emotion raw. Perfect. Like us. But perfection's illusion shattered subtle. A letter arrived weeks later, postmarked Dallas, elder aunt's script elegant. Rio's success stirs pride, but the hyphen? Whispers in boardrooms. Consider the foundation, full Harlan name for scholarships. Strings again, veiled as generosity. Jake crumpled it, showing Eli over coffee black as ire. They never quit. Want him polished, our dust scrubbed off. Eli's jaw set. Rio chooses his name. We taught him that. Confrontation brewed gentle. They shared it at dinner, Rio's fork pausing mid-bite. Hyphens me, both worlds. Tell him thanks, but no. His resolve, teen sharp, echoed Maria's steel. The aunt's reply conceded graceful, foundation check uncut. Boy's his own man. Victory small, but sweet. College loomed, Rio's dorm packed with care, boots polished, Maria's locket on chain. Drop-off day wrenched, hugs airport tight, Eli's voice cracking. Call weekly. And remember, ranch waits. Rio grinned, backpack slung. Won't forget. Love you, dads. Absence echoed first weeks, calls sporadic amid freshman frenzy. Jake threw into work. Fence lines endless. Herd rotations meticulous. Eli gentling Mustangs. Their nights a refuge of reminiscence. Empty nest. Eli sighed one starlit eve, porch swing creaking. Miss his chaos. Jake pulled him close. Ours now. Travel? See the coast, like Ma dreamed. Road trip beckoned, Austin to Galveston, convertible top down, wind scouring worries. Beaches beckon white sand, waves crashing symphonic. They walked barefoot, hands linked, shells crunching confessions. Never thought it'd be this, Jake said, toes digging damp. Two old cowboys, holding hands seaside. Eli laughed, salt-tinged kiss. Old. Speak for yourself. But yeah, miracle, dust to dunes. Galveston's charm lingered, but home pulled stronger. Ranch thriving under Victor's steady. Rose's garden a bounty. Mia returned summers, portfolio bursting. Her girlfriend Lena's cousin, a botanist named Claire, all curls and curiosity, charming the hands with wildflower lore. One harvest, as combines droned golden fields least expanded, a storm brewed biblical, winds howling, skies bruising black. Barn shutters rattled, Rio calling frantic. Dads? Tornado warning. You safe? Safe as houses. Jake yelled over Gale, securing hatches with Eli. Hunker with friends. Love ya. Twister touched fleeting, carving furrows but sparing roofs. Aftermath bonded deeper. Neighbors aiding rebuilds. Rio home impromptu for cleanup, his muscles earned in gym, now hauling beams. Family rally, he quipped, sweat-streaked. Like old times. Old times evolved. Victor's proposal to Rosa under the oak. Rio ring bearer. Jake's toast heartfelt. To kin chosen. Wed-in wove tighter. Rosa's bakery relocating to town square. Victor's grin permanent. Elias. Rio's nod to Eli. Arrived next spring, adopted at 5, wide-eyed orphan with curls like Mia's sketches. 2 now. Cal chuckled, bouncing the toddler. Y'all collectin'? Building. Eli corrected, Elias giggling on his hip. Like fences, stronger together. Elias proved whirlwind. Mischief and mud, questions endless. Why 2 dads? He'd ask bedtime, small finger-tapping noses. Jake fielded patient. 'Cause love don't divide, it multiplies. Challenges compounded. Elias's night terrors, echoes of foster hops. Rio's long-distance romance fizzling. Heartbreak patched with homecoming rides. Jake's knee, road-hard relic, acted cranky winters. Eli's massages medicinal, and more. Yet joys layered. Rio's vet degree. Internship local, stethoscope, round neck as he checked herds. Paying it forward, he said, needling a calf gentle. Mia's gallery show, pieces sold to out-of-towners. Claire proposing with a ring of twisted vines. Eli and Jake marked silver anniversary quiet. Dawn ride to the creek. Picnic of cheese and apples. Vows renewed on blanket worn. 25. Jake marveled. Ring cool against skin. Still chasing you. Eli's eyes crinkled. Catch me anytime, Harlan. Grandkids sprinkled later. Rio's twins. Boy-girl bundle named for Maria and the Plains. Mariah and Canyon. Toddling corral side. Elias's adoption of a sister, Lila. completing the circle. Ranch evolved sustainable, solar arrays humming, ecotourism trails drawing city folk for cowboy immersion. Jake led, rye. Less dust, more dollars. Eli gentled the guests, his story's the real draw. Loves the original trail, he'd say, eyes on Jake across campfires. Maria's garden overgrew wild, statues of saints amid zinnias, her voice in wind. Victor passed peaceful, heart full at 80, Rosa enduring stoic, her pies at every gathering. One twilight, as sun dipped crimson, Jake and Eli sat porch rockers, creaking duet. Rio's laughter drifted from the barn, grandkids shrieking chase. Full house, Eli said soft. Jake's hand found his. Full heart. Twists traversed, secrets shared, their dust trails etched legend. Two cowboys, riding tandem into forever's quiet glow. Sunsets on the Double H had a way of painting the world in hues of forgiveness. Oranges bleeding into purples, the horizon a canvas where day's harsh edges softened to memory. Jake Harlan, pushing 70 now, felt it deepest in his bones, the easy ache of years well-ridden. His knee, that old rodeo trader, grumbled on damp mornings, but a cane carved from mesquite, Rio's handiwork, kept him upright, tapping rhythm to his stride. Eli Navarro, silver at the temples but fire undimmed in his hazel gaze, still outpaced him on foot, though he'd feign a limp to even the field. Their porch was thrown now, rockers angled to catch the creek's murmur and the grandkids' distant whoops. Mariah and Canyon, Rio's twins at 12, darted like minnows through the corrals, Lila and Elias's brood, for strong, ages blurring in chaos, trailing with questions sharper than branding irons. Gramps Jake, why's the sky cry rain? Canyon hollered once, freckles sun-kissed, and Jake's answer, spun from Maria's old tales, drew them close. Sky's just washing its face, kid. Clears the dust for new dreams. Eli, rocking lazy, would chime in with a wink. And dreams, they're what keep us riding. The ranch thrummed legacy, Rio head vet, his clinic a bunkhouse annex where needles and nays coexisted. Mia's art collective, cabins repurposed studios drawing creators from coasts, Claire's greenhouses blooming exotics amid native sage. Victor's shadow lingered benevolent, his and Rosa's plot under the oak a pilgrimage site, her bakery enduring via Lila's baking was daughter, little Rosa the Third, all braids and bossy. Yet age's quiet siege pressed. Jake's eyes fogged at ledger fine print. Eli's hands trembled on reins after long days. Time to hand reins. Eli mused one eve, as stars pricked velvet, Rio's truck rumbling homeward. Jake sipped bourbon slow, ice-clinking judgment. Reins? Nah. Saddle up beside. Rio's ready lead, but we steer whispers. Whispers turn shout when oil scouts sniffed borders, Dallas suits. Victor's old ghosts revived, pitching fracks for legacy wealth. Rio balked fierce. Land's lungs, not lottery. Jake backed him, cane thumping emphasis at the kitchen war council. Tell him no. Our legacy's green, not black gold. Eli nodded, but worry creased his brow. Pushback? Lawsuits, like before. The suits came, papers piling like storm clouds, claims of mineral rights ancestral. Lena's successor, a Spitfire named Jordan, shredded them in court. Ancestral? Try fabricated. Harlan Navarro blood runs deep here. Yours is ink thin. Victory tasted of creek water, cold and pure, scouts slinking with tails tucked. But toll lingered, stress spiking Jake's blood pressure, Eli's sleep fractured by phantom threats. Doc prescribed rest, but cowboys don't pasture easy. Grandkids proved elixir. Mariah's roping prowess, rivaling Eli's youth. Canyon's sketches, Mia's air in charcoal. Lila's eldest, Sophia, quizzing Jake on stars, her telescope a window to Maria's saints. Elias, soft-spoken dad now, built with them a treehouse in the Oak's Crook, Abuela's lookout, he called it, hammocks swaying with secrets shared. One harvest, as combines sang gold, a letter fluttered unexpected. Ruiz, frielier than faith, requesting visit. Absolution's arc complete. Eli read aloud, brow arched. Jake pondered long. Let him come. Closure's a crop worth reaping. The priest arrived humble, cassock threadbare, eyes humbled by decades' dust. Eli, Jake, forgiven old fool? San Antonio's changed, but my sins. They echo. Eli clasped his hand, steady. Echoes fade with work, Father. Stay, supper, stories. See what grace builds. Ruiz dined wide-eyed at the table's roar, grandkids chatter, Rio's jokes, Rose's pie crumbling sweet. Miracle, he whispered after, under stars. Your light. It shames my shadow. Lights for Sharon. Jake said simple. Kane tapping farewell. Ruiz left lighter, a bridge mended final. Winter that year bit vicious, blizzards blanketing plains white as surrender. Herd hunkered, hands hold with hot toddies, but pipes froze, generator coughed. Jake, stubborn, ventured out at midnight fix, Eli trailing with thermos. Idiot, Eli grumbled, breath fogging, lemme haul. Teamwork thawed the line, but slip on ice sent Jake sprawling, hip-cracking protest. Doc's word, surgery, pins, retire the saddle, Harlan. Bedbound weeks chafed, Jake railing at walls. Eli his unflappable nurse, soup spooned, stories spun. Remember our first storm? Eli coaxed, fluffing pillows. Ridge gunshot. You haulin' me like hero? Jake grunted, but softened. Yeah, and you'd do same. Rio stepped up seamless, vet calls covered, tours delegated to Mia's artists. Grandkids smuggled contraband. Candy, comics, Sophia reading aloud her astronomy book, constellations mapped on ceiling tiles. Healing hinged slow, physical therapy a battlefield Jake won grudging. First walk unaided. To the oak, Eli at arm. See? Still rident. Spring bloom triumphant. Jake's limp fading to swagger. But deeper mending waited. Rio's wedding. To a fiery engineer named Tate. Ceremony under the oak with twists. Vows in verse. Tate's city kin mingling wary with ranch roughnecks. Jake's toast. Cane raised. To trails tangled and true. Welcome, Tate. Our net widens. Eli's whisper after. Net? More like lasso, snaring hearts. Lila's brood swelled with baby brother. Elias beaming dad ×3. Mia and Claire's adoption of twins. Boy-girl whirlwinds crashing summers. The ranch, once two men's dream, pulsed polyphonic. Laughter in layers, love logarithmic. Anniversary 35th dawn misty. Eli gifting Jake a custom saddle, tooled with their intertwined initials. For wagon rides now, he teased, but eyes earnest. Still chasin'? Jake mounted experimental, Eli leading the gentle mare. Chasin'? Nah, ride in tandem forever. Grandkids cheered from porch, a chorus of continuity. Yet fate's hand turned sly. Elias's diagnosis, leukemia quiet creeping, treatments in Lubbock shuttling family. Jake drove first runs, Eli second, Lila's fear masked and fussing. He's fighter, Jake told her, hand steady. Like his grandma. Remission came hard won, Elias emerging gaunt but grinning. Kids piling bed with drawings, super uncle beats bad guys. The scare unified tighter, bone marrow drives ranch wide, ribbons red on fences. Summer's end brought Ruiz's passing, peaceful, penitent, his obituary nodding to changed hearts. Eli attended alone, returning with a relic, the priest's old Bible, margins scrawled with their names. He kept us close, in the end. Jake thumbed pages worn. Grace circles back. Ages advanced, Jake's hair snow, Eli's step measured, but mornings found them creekside, coffee steaming companionship. Rio's twins apprenticed vetting, Canyon's art scholarships east, Sophia's telescope, dreams NASA bound. One dawn, as mist rose ethereal, Jake turned to Eli, voice gravel soft. Best ride, partner? Eli's smile creased deep. Yours. Dusk to dawn. Grandkids gathered unbidden, sensing finale's hush, stories swapped, hands linked across generations. Jake slipped quiet at 92, Eli's head on shoulder, last breath a sigh content. Eli mourned public. Funeral procession horseback, eulogy Rios. Pa Jake lassoed love, pulled us all in. Private, he withered slow, ranch wrapping tender. Nights by the oak, Maria's garden, whispering to stars. Passage came gentle, 94, Rio at side. grandkids encircling. "Join the ride, Dad," Rio urged. Eli's eyes closed peaceful, hand clutching the mesquite ring. The ranch endures, eternal. Harlan Navarro trails, dust whispering secrets quiet no more. Love's legacy, galloping boundless.